This is the Soul-Filled Sisterhood podcast, and I'm your host, Nicole Burgess, licensed marriage and family therapist and an empowerment mentor for women. The information shared in this podcast is not a substitute, nor is it to convey professional, psychological, financial, or medical advice. If you could use such services, please seek them out from someone you trust. Now here is today's episode. Episode 115. And hey, before we dive into today's episode, just want to give you a heads up. There is some adult language that is being used today in this episode, so if you've got little ones around, you may want to use a headset. If you find yourself often overwhelmed and stressed out, I encourage you to go out to NicoleBurgessCoaching.com/end-overwhelm and watch my workshop on the 5 shifts to end overwhelm and live a more balanced and connected life as a highly sensitive woman entrepreneur. Now here is today's episode. Well, welcome sisters. Oh my goodness, I am so excited about this upcoming conversation. Today, my guest is Esther Blum, and she is an integrative dietitian and a high-performance coach. She has helped thousands of women permanently lose weight, eliminate the need for medication, lose that stubborn belly fat, and reverse chronic illness. Esther teaches her clients how to get clear and decisive about what to eat while healing their relationship with food and their bodies. Esther is the best-selling author of Cave Women Don't Get Fat, Eat, Drink, and Be Gorgeous, Secrets of Gorgeous, and the Eat, Drink, and Be Gorgeous Project. She currently maintains a busy virtual practice where she provides 360 degrees of healing with physical, psychological, emotional, and spiritual support. Esther believes that the diet and supplements are the foundations to healing, but treating the whole person is paramount. She's widely respected as an industry expert, and Esther was voted the best nutritionist by Manhattan Magazine. She's appeared on the Dr. Oz Show, The Today Show, A Healthy You with Carol Alt, The Isaac Show, ABC TV, Fox 5's Good Day New York, and Fox News Live. Esther received a Bachelor of Science in Clinical Nutrition from Simon's College in Boston, and is a graduate of New York University, where she received her Master's of Science in Clinical Nutrition. Esther is credentialed as a registered dietitian, a certified dietitian nutritionist, and a certified nutrition specialist. Esther lives in Connecticut with her family, where she can be seen cooking up a storm, going for long hikes, and blasting 80s music by the fire pit. And Esther, I just want to say thank you so much for being on today. And we're actually going to talk a little bit more about women's hormones, perimenopause, menopause, all the good stuff, because I know many of you sisters out there listening are in your midlife. So Esther, thank you again for being on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Nicole.
Well, share just a little bit with the ladies who are listening, like what really got you into this type of work?
So I come from a long line of physicians. My grandfather, who lived to be 105, he was an ears, nose, and throat surgeon. He was one of the first graduating medical classes of NYU in 1921. And he took out my tonsils. He had a 4-story house in Brooklyn in Flatbush. And on the first floor, there was, a waiting room, a consultation room, a treatment room, and then he had an operating room, and then they had 12 pediatric beds in a recovery room and 2 adult beds. So he took out my tonsils. I was never in the hospital till I gave birth as an adult. And
wow.
So I was always, and I was always really sick as a kid. I got ear infections every single month and tonsillitis, and my parents didn't change anything with my diet or optimize supplements. They were, but my father was a dermatologist and my mother was a nurse. And so I grew up in a very conventional medical family, but also unconventional in today's standards that, my grandfather and my father both made house calls. They were like not in it for the money, although my grandfather was wildly successful and my dad was successful, but they really did it out of patient care and love for giving back and healing people. And my father, in his late 80s, got a Lifetime Achievement Award actually for his years and years in service as a doctor. So
cool.
It was really cool. So when I was in college trying to figure out my career path, I knew I did not want to be a doctor because my dad was like, listen, if you don't want to go to med school, like I support that because it's really so many years of your life in service. And I was like, yeah, but I do like the sciences. So nutrition offered an amazing curriculum that is basically pre-med minus the physics and a little less chemistry. But other than that, it's a pre-med degree. So I did that because I love the academics. Although I really cried through inorganic chemistry. But my grandfather was like, what are you thinking? Like, you're never going to be a success. Why wouldn't you go to medical school? I said, I don't want to go to medical school.
Aww.
So I was like, I see your challenge and I raise you, my success. So, when my book first got published and I paid off like all my grad school loans with that advance, I was like, you know what? I think I'm a success now. So, and Eat, Drink, and Be Gorgeous is really my pink Bible. Like it's still selling. It came out in 2007 and I still get royalty checks every year from that book. I mean, it was just an awesome experience and enables me to, again, give back. So for people, if they say, I want to work with you, but maybe I'm not ready or I don't have the money, I'm like, this book is a nutrition consultation I wrote that book 15 years into practice, more than that now. But, so I really said, how can I teach people, total strangers, like, how can I teach you some of the things that my patients are learning and really being successful with? So it was a ton of fun to write and just like poured out of me like water. It was amazing.
Well, it sounds like you had beautiful support from your dad, like really wanting you to tap into what is calling your soul. And you knew it's like, I don't want to go exactly down the same path. Grandpa was a little more old school in that way and thought more conventional, like the only way you can be successful or make money is this way. And you're like, mm-mm. And I know so many people who have authored books that they say that they knew they could reach more people through book writing too. Like you're saying, whether they're not ready to work, one-on-one with you or in a group way, or they don't have the finances to invest yet, that's a whole other way they can invest in themselves and make changes because of all the research you've done and the changes that you were making with the clients you were working with.
Totally. And so, one of my missions is to really reach people at a public health level where they can be empowered and educated. One of my taglines is education to empowerment, like really just saying, listen, guys, here's how to sort through the noise. This is not a diet book. This is just a lifestyle. Like, what are the healthy foods I need to eat? If I eat these, I'm going to be pretty healthy. And it's really ridiculously simple. No one has ever said, I don't understand anything. This is too complicated because there's no plan.
Yeah.
It's just living your life like a normal human, having a really super healthy relationship with food that's really balanced, having no shame around indulgences at all, just like living in the balance.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes I've read various books over the years. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're making that so complicated. Or no, I don't even have access to these types of foods. And so I love that you've made things very simple for folks to do that they can follow. And like you're saying, it's not a diet book. It truly is. And I haven't read it, ladies, just a heads up on that. I haven't read it. But what you're saying is like, it's about a lifestyle change. And that's what we're talking about here today is just, again, investing in your own health, which shifts everything for you as a person.
Well, it's also, kind of the Carrie Bradshaw book of good nutrition. So it's very fun and a lot of good and funny because, like, honestly, I can't read most nutrition diet books. I find them very boring or they trigger, I never had a full eating disorder, but I definitely had a disordered mindset around food at times in my life. And, if you tell me, I never ask my clients or people to do anything I wouldn't do myself. So if you tell me you can never eat this food again, like, of course, I'm going to do a face plant into a trough of it right then and there.
Right.
So it really, and a lot of what I really take issue is this horrible dieting culture and these ridiculously restrictive, low calorie diets that no one can sustain. And then you feel like a failure. And then it triggers all this disordered mindset shifts with food all over again. And it's like, absolutely not. I won't do that. I just refuse. I will not do that to women. I think it's the most misogynistic thing to tell a woman, here are my rules that I follow personally. And therefore I think you should follow, versus like, hey, what happened to actually listening to what your body's telling you? Like, am I hungry? Am I craving something? Is my energy low? Well, what's my sleep like? What's my stress like? And just
Yep.
kind of saying, what the hell do I need, to the strategic ignorance of everybody else? So that's where, I'm like, absolutely not. I will not subject women to this nonsense. It's not okay.
Well, I love that one, you're getting women back to really paying attention to their body, which I think is a huge disconnect for a lot of my clients who are high achievers or very much in their head.
Yeah.
But they get disconnected from their bodies. And then two, what I also heard you say is looking at it more like on an individual level,
Yeah.
because we are all uniquely made.
Right.
And yeah, if we're not paying attention to what our bodies are saying, what works for us and what doesn't work for us, then yeah, trying to follow somebody else's plan is like, may or may not actually work for you because maybe too restrictive or your body's craving something totally different.
Well, and keto is a great example of that. Keto works great a lot of times for men, but women really need carbs, or it works great short term, but long term, I'm like, ladies, you actually need more carbs to actually support your neurotransmitter production in your brain. So no, I don't. And no one sustains that. I've never put anyone on keto in my practice and still got plenty of great results for many, many patients. So I'm not worrying about, the rules someone else made up. It doesn't mean you have to go to that level.
Well, beautiful. Well, with that, Esther, then share just a little bit. We know that our bodies and hormones change, right, as we go into perimenopause and menopause. Yet I know personally, I've read so many things. They're like, women are just doomed to have hot flashes. They're going to have brain fog. That's just part of going through the change of life.
Yeah.
Well, first, can you share just a few things? Like, what are some signs that maybe a woman's hormones are out of balance? And what are some ways that she can really do to kind of help change all of these things, where maybe it's eliminating hot flashes or things like that?
Yeah. So I can speak very authentically to this because I'm going through it myself. I'm turning 50 next week. We're recording this in August. So I am experiencing some of those things. But long before I was able to really help a lot of women. How you identify what you're going through is, perimenopause is when your periods start to maybe get irregular, maybe they get shorter, maybe they get way more intense, like it looks like a scene out of a John Gotti movie. Maybe your periods get farther apart and your schedule starts to get irregular. You skip a period here, maybe 2 months, 3 months. You're really in full-blown menopause when you haven't had a period for 12 months. But in that time, some of the changes you may notice are lower energy, poorer quality sleep, because menopausal women can develop sleep apnea due to lower progesterone levels. Which I know, that's why, like your sleep really suffers. Your cortisol levels can go off kilter, a lot more irritability, perhaps what I call momnesia, just kind of some brain fog and difficulty concentrating and difficulty remembering things. And of course, hot flashes or just feeling really hot overnight. All of those things, cravings, increased appetite, all of these things can be part of perimenopause and menopause, but they don't have to be. You can actually rock out your menopause. And so what I love to do, what I do for almost all my clients, including men, is I do a Dutch test, a hormone test that really, it's a urine test that you can do at home. And it looks at a full panel of your androgens. It looks at all 7 of your estrogens, all 7 of your testosterones, and all 7 of your progesterones. And it not only looks at the levels you're producing, but it looks at whether or not you're methylating, whether you're actually detoxifying, or if they're moving down the right pathways. Because if you are either not detoxifying your estrogen or your progesterone production is starting to tank, then what happens is you become estrogen dominant. And that is a recipe for fat storage, insomnia, like low progesterone really contributes to insomnia. So I also look at your organic acids to see if you're producing neurotransmitters in your brain, because a lot of women come to me on antidepressants and they don't have the precursors to make dopamine. So the antidepressants aren't working because the nutrients aren't right. Or a woman's adrenal function is so tanked and her energy from chronic stress, and her energy is so low that she can't. Also, she just can't have a properly functioning adrenal gland and endocrine system. So I really like to look at all the pieces and put them together. It's a long-winded answer, but
yeah, no, that was beautiful. And it sounds like your whole purpose, like to start, is really trying to get to the root cause, which is through that Dutch panel that you're talking about.
Always look at the root cause, and get people just feeling better. First of all,
yeah.
Like, can I get you sleeping? Yes, we can. How do we do that? We do. If you're a candidate and your detox pathways are good, you're a candidate for oral progesterone. That can be a game changer at night.
Okay.
Estrogen's low. I like the estrogen patch. That is kind of an optimized form. And a lot of women are good candidates for testosterone therapy too. And that's in a cream, or some DHEA orally. All of those can be very supportive if you are a candidate. If your pathways support it, if you're not making enough of it, you can be a great candidate. Now, other women need an estrogen detox. And there's many different ways you detox estrogen, and it really depends what pathways you're going down. But certainly, like, eating cruciferous vegetables is a great start. It's not going to do the trick 100%, but like eating cruciferous vegetables, eating wild yam and sweet potatoes, all of those can support your detoxification and your production of progesterone. So basic things, wild yam, right? Progesterone replacement therapies in the form of wild yam. So if you saw Sex and the City too, you saw Samantha didn't bring her hormones with her when she flew overseas. So she was eating all this wild yam and putting masks on her face and all this stuff that I was like, I don't know if that's going to really support your hot flashes, but good try. But yes, you really want to look at the root cause, and you want to look at detox pathways. And conventional medicine can be a bit dismissive of this, but listen, all you have to do is go by how someone's feeling. And, I have clients that take HRT that are still feeling crappy and their doses aren't enough, or maybe they need a compounded formula, or maybe they need a detox. So you really start where someone's baseline. I also have a ton of women coming to me on Mirena, and man, their hormones, can I curse here?
You absolutely can. I've not even heard of what it is you're talking about. So share more about that.
It's a hormonal shit show. The NuvaRing and Mirena, these are, I believe Mirena is an IUD. But man, it is an absolute nightmare what it does, because women have been on birth control for so many years. And it suppresses the production of, I can't even barely get a baseline of what a woman's hormones looks like when they're on this.
Wow.
Or they go on it for birth control. And I'm like, you're perimenopausal now. The odds of you getting pregnant are much lower. And like, you don't really need it so much anymore. So I like people to come off, we get their baseline tested, and then figure out where their hormones are at. I do have women also that are going through menopause are taking hormones either orally or through these devices, through the NuvaRing or through the Mirena IUD. And we still have to put them on additional hormone replacement because their body just can't even produce them anymore.
Wow.
So it really overrides a lot of your body's natural rhythms. There's a great book by Dr. Jolene Brighton called Beyond the Pill. And it's really insightful. And women should just, in my opinion, not be on birth control unless it's a barrier method or the rhythm method. Because what these hormones do to women, they deplete a ton of nutrients like zinc and B6. They just completely disrupt your body's normal rhythms. Like, you are supposed to get a period every month, ladies. You're not supposed to never get periods. It really can screw with your bone density too.
Yeah. And the fascinating thing, Esther, it's like I didn't hear about any of this until probably late 30s, almost early 40s.
Amazing.
About the birth control and some of the side effects. I mean, I know some of the doctors, talked a little bit here and there, but not about the longevity of what it could do. And I know of so many teens, early 20s, 30s who are totally on birth control and not knowing like the long-term effects of your hormones. And for what you're saying, these two of these major ones seem to like totally suppress or shut them off totally, which is really going to impact women for a long term. And in my personal opinion, it doesn't seem like it's talked about nearly enough for how it impacts a woman's body.
Right. I mean, listen, I go to my OBGYN every year, and she's constantly trying to put me on birth control. So, a year ago, I was like, my sleep really sucks. I'm not doing well. She's like, just take the pill. So I read the side effects of the pill. And you know what one of the side effects is? Insomnia. What? I was like, are you kidding me? Well, then, I've done my Dutch test. I just did my third one, actually. So I did my second Dutch test back then. Well, guess what? I was estrogen dominant. So, and I was progesterone deficient. So why on earth would you give an estrogen dominant woman the pill? So instead, I started taking oral progesterone at night, and lo and behold, like my sleep got a lot better. So, it's like you really can't just dole these out like candy without getting a baseline. And some people listening may be saying, well, what about blood work? My gynecologist takes my blood, or I get my blood done annual. Well, blood only tests one or two forms of each androgen at most. The Dutch looks at 21 different types of androgens. Wow. And you take 5 samples between 5 p.m. and 8 a.m. the next day. So that's a real curve where you look at your cortisol. Maybe you feel like crap because your cortisol is low, not anything to do with your hormones. So you really, and again, I'm not a paid sponsor. I have received no money from this company. I should make it very clear. I'm like, how are the ways I can support my patients? It's really looking at, and doctors will be very dismissive of these tests, by the way, and say, this is not, there isn't enough medical research to support it. I'm telling you, the staff of Dutch they're quite well researched, and they often send me incredible research studies that I can bring to my gyno or give my patients to bring to their gynos. So the research is out there to support this kind of testing.
Well, and I also will encourage my clients that if their doctor is dismissive of what's going on with them, I'm like, well, you have to ask them about X, Y, and Z. And again, I'm not a doctor, so I have to refer them to somebody. And if they get dismissed, I'm like, get a second opinion.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's your body, and it's like you've got to advocate for yourself of what's working and what is not. You don't need to suffer through this.
That's it. And often I end up being the liaison for my patients and just calling the doctor directly and saying, this is what she needs. This is what she's experiencing. And by the way, what's the downside? Really, what's the worst that can happen? You get irritable AF and you don't tolerate this, and we get off and we try a different form of it. It's the downsides are minimal, but the upsides are tremendous. And how it improves a woman's life is dramatic. Because if you're a woman who has a career and or you have kids at home, oh my God, the irritability is real. And you have to be, nice to your people, right? You can't be irritable all the time. You want to be able to be your best self and control your moods and, and just feel happy and not irritable all the time.
Well, and I know a lot of women that I work with, right? They already there's either shame that's already messing things up due to past stuff that's happened, but also guilt. Like, I just bit my partner's head off, or I bit my children's head off, and I don't like being this way. And so that's part of what they start to recognize. Like you're saying, it's like that irritability is up, or they lash out and they're like, I don't understand why. And it's like, well, it sounds like there's some hormonal shifts going on here if we've ruled out some other things in their life. And that's just it. This is an investment in their true health, but the longevity, and so they can thrive versus just exist in life. It's huge.
Well, that's it is, investing in your health, people will say, oh, it's so expensive. It's like, you've already spent that money looking for solutions. You've already wasted a ton of time, and you can always make more money, but you cannot make more time. And it's a permanent solution to your problem. So is it more expensive up front? Yes, but long-term it pays off. And I looked at Forbes magazine, right? I looked up the cost of obesity. What does it cost us to be obese every year? For a woman, it's $4,764 a year. And for men, it's like $2,968, right? So men, it doesn't cost as much. Women, it costs us a lot more. And I'm guessing it's because we're going to the doctor more, we're spending more on things. I'm like, dude, pay a little more upfront. Right? Or you buy the Chanel suit. You don't buy one from Target. You buy the Chanel suit that lasts you 20 years versus the Target one that falls apart and comes off at the seams and just isn't cut right, has no lining. The Chanel suit is structured, has a lining. quality, classic, never goes out of style. So it's the same thing with your health. Like you get the Maserati where these are the supplements I need. This is the hormone cocktail I need. And then you fix the problem, or you can spend your life reading Suzanne Summers books and this doctor's book and that, and then trying everything. And by then you've lost like 4 years, you've gained 40 pounds and you're not getting better versus like, okay, I'm going to invest. It will actually cost me less to invest in this than it would per year to be obese.
Yeah.
So again, you really have to think grand scale on this. And of course I offer my clients payment plans anyway. It's like, just get it done for yourself. I don't care what it takes, figure it out. Because we all can figure out resources when we need it badly enough,
Yeah, exactly.
All what you prioritize. If you gave up your Starbucks every day, you could afford this easily.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've made some mentions on that in previous podcasts. It's where you put your focus and where you put your priorities. And
totally.
There's only one you, and your health is the foundation to everything else in living. So,
and it's your quality of life. I mean, at the end of the day, like, do you want to be present in your life, or do you just kind of want to be sitting on the sidelines watching it by? That's the other thing. I have long conversations with people before and I'm going to make an offer at the end, people, on that. But I have long conversations with people and we talk about their quality of life. And they're like, I feel like I'm missing out because I'm overweight. I won't get in a bathing suit. I won't sit at the beach. My kids are water skiing. I will not do that. My joints ache, so I can't go hiking with them. And I feel like I'm missing out. I feel like I'm not fun and I'm depressed. And like my family's having a great time and I'm not part of any of that. So it's like, do you want to be present in your life? Life is freaking short. Tomorrow is guaranteed to no one. So like, how are you going to live your best life today? Because you don't get a lot of chances to do that. So you want to make sure you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to pivot just a second here for a little bit. Share a little bit, like, how can actually women, we've got a couple different questions here, but how can women have better mental focus? Because kind of like what we were talking about, sometimes as we go through midlife, that fog can start to kind of come in. So what are some ways or what are some things that they can do to start to have better mental focus?
Okay, well, you want to do sleep first. Obviously, sleep is one of the big rocks. You got to have good quality sleep where you get REM sleep and you're really deep, deep, deep in sleep. 2 is not turning on yourself, not checking your emails right out of the gate, because when you check your emails, that inbox you are a slave to someone else's agenda, not your own. Okay. So I'm better at this. I go through phases where I'm really good and phases where I suck at it. But I can tell you that your brain, when it's not hijacked by a million little distractions and your inbox alert going off, it's much easier to concentrate. So like when you are doing your emails and your work, shut off, or if you're not doing your emails, shut off your mail, close your mail app down so you don't see what's coming in. And you can chunk down your day into blocks of time. So from 10:30 to 11, I check emails. And then I check emails again from 4:30 to 5. And you train your staff and your people. I check emails during these hours. I will get back to you then. Rarely is anything an emergency. Rarely.
Correct.
But the third part, and the most important, people are saying, what can I eat? Okay, protein and fat. The meat and nuts breakfast raises dopamine, raises serotonin, keeps your mental focus strong all day, and helps prevent that 3 p.m. crash. So it's really important you start off the day with protein and fat to feed your brain, because your brain is made of mostly fatty acids. So avocado and salmon, or smoked salmon, sausages and a handful of almonds, steak and eggs. And you can have vegetables or berries with this as well. A vegetable omelet is fine. Cottage cheese with chia seeds and raspberries are great, or some Greek yogurt.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, it's really good. Or Greek yogurt, mixed with some protein powder and, some slivered almonds and berries, but protein all the way, at least 30 to 40 grams for most women. That's like 4 to 6 ounces in the morning. You do that, you're going to come out like a freaking rock star. And even if you've had a craptastic night's sleep, you get high protein breakfast, you will still be able to function till probably about 2 or 3 p.m. Then you may crash, but you'll get through most of the day doing that. So yeah.
Well, I love you say something very similar that I've talked about on the show too. It's for highly sensitive women, it's chunking out the day or chunking out your time can be really, really beneficial. And it's for those who are non-HSPs as well. But that just, you stay in charge of your schedule and calendar. And yes, you may have things that kind of sideline you. But at the same time, it's like when you start creating a healthier habit, that really does shift your focus. And so you're not trying to, what everybody says, oh, I can multitask. No, you can't. Your brain actually just shuts off and switches to a different task. Right. And then it takes you longer to go back. That's all it does.
So true. So true. And like when people say, I don't have the time, I don't have the time, you may not have the time, but let's optimize the time you do have. Mm-hmm. So that you can actually have structured downtime. And so another really important thing is by 8 p.m., like I really try not to look at my phone. Sometimes I just shut it off altogether.
Yeah.
Although I do use meditation apps at night. So, but like nothing good comes from things done after 8 p.m. in my opinion.
Right. Well, and you need, women in general need time to shut off. And whether that's like, if you've got little ones, you're still, getting them ready for bed, things like that. You've got to carve, again, even if it's 15 minutes, something that's just for you and you're not getting pulled into any work stuff. It's like, this is now family time. This is my alone time. This is just my rejuvenation time.
Exactly. That's absolutely right. And just my family knows, like, don't call me after, Lord help my mother. If she calls me at 8:30 or even 9 at night, I'm like, oh, hell no. No. I'm like, Mom, nothing good is going to come from this conversation. I will speak to you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Unless it's an absolute emergency.
Well, that's
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Exactly. So no, nothing good ever comes from those. I'm my worst self at that point in the day. I don't want to talk to anyone. It's this quiet time. Goodbye.
Yep. Well, I love, though, that's part of your self-care, right? And that's, you really do make yourself a priority. And I know for so many women, that can be a struggle for them to advocate for themselves and telling family members like, after this time, I'm not going to be checking my phone calls, or please don't call me. And they may get irritated by that. It's like, but you get to do your own feelings over there, people, because this is where I'm at. And for me to be my best self and to really have true connection with you, I want to be present. I need to actually have that downtime for me.
Exactly. I mean, for me, it honestly was not a choice. I had so many years where I was so sick and unwell. And like, if I didn't really clean up my sleep hygiene, like I just was destroyed the next day. I got no sleep and I can't look at screens. I can't be on my computer at night, or I don't sleep well at all. So it's even with like the blue light blockers and the, the apps that keep the screen orange. My brain is too keyed up and way too active. Now, if you want me to write a soliloquy at 5 a.m., I'm good. I can do that. But like, don't mess with me at night. It's not happening. So it's just the reality sandwich.
Well, and again, I love that because you know your body, you know what you need to be your best self. Yeah. And there's just, it's non-negotiable for you.
Well, and saying no is really good. I think a lot of women are so terrified to say no because they're people pleasers. They're like, oh, but what if? So this is a great example. So I had a client last week who has she has IBD, right? So she's either constipated or having tons of diarrhea. Well, I check into her toilet hygiene and her bathroom and bowel habits. She owns a salon and spa. And she said, she has like a shy colon where she won't poop in public. She won't poop in her spa, but she lives 5 minutes away. I said, great. So lunchtime, you're going to have your salad and you're going to poop. And then, and she goes, well, I can't do that. My staff, well, I said, excuse me, you're the owner. You need to train your staff that you are not available during these hours. And it was like a light went on. She had never given herself permission or thought to put herself first. And women too, I hear this all the time. They feed their entire family dinner and they're eating goldfish out of the bag. I'm like, how do you not just sit and eat with your family? It doesn't even make logical sense, but it just doesn't occur to them. It just doesn't resonate. So you have to actually, you're the glue, like it or not, you set the tone. Your mood sets the tone.
Mm-hmm.
Actions set the tone. If you don't take care of you, trust me, no one else will. And no one's ever going to give you permission. Be like, you know what? Why don't you go do this and take care of yourself? No one's going to do it. So you have to say, yeah, this is my structure. This is what I need for this week, guys. This is my schedule. I'm available these hours. I'm not available these hours, whether it's your work, whether it's your family. Like, you're the only one who's going to drive that bus for you. No one else will, sadly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Esther, before I ask, or have you share more of your information about you, and ladies, I'll have all of her information, of course, on the show notes. Tell me just a little bit, share, I guess, with my listeners a little more about like your self-care routine. We know your bedtime hygiene, which is beautiful. Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. What are some other self-care things that you do for you?
So I spend an hour to an hour and a half walking in nature every day. I get up in the morning. I walk my dog for an hour. I would walk him more. He just is slow and stops and sniffs everything.
Yep.
But I walk in the winter. We have an infrared sauna. So I do an infrared sauna about 3 times a week. And I lift weights a couple times a week. I don't drink much, although in my mind, believe me, I'm like a smoking alcoholic, and I'm always in a cocktail state of mind. But the reality is I really, have maybe one cocktail once a week. It just, it messes with my sleep, and I'm irritable, and it's just not worth it to me. I just feel happier and mentally clear not drinking. It's a productivity tool. And then I have an amazing business coach, and he enables me to grow my business in a way that is sane and balanced. And I set the tone and say, I have a family I have to manage. I have this going on. I have that going on. How do I build my business around my family? Versus, right? Most people are like just flying by the seat of their pants, and they're slaves to their jobs, and they put themselves last.
Yep.
Well, struggling so many years with my own health, I had to really learn, like, no, I come first, and then I will absolutely take care of my patients. If I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of my patients. I can't take care of my family. I can't show up as a good wife or mother. So the other thing is, cooking and eating whole foods. And I don't cook complicated meals at all. I will roast 3 sweet potatoes. I will have a pot of rice. I will have some quinoa. I will have lots of good protein like lamb and chicken and liver and bone marrow and meat and fish and shellfish. I eat really well throughout the day, eat a ton of vegetables. I enjoy dark chocolate immensely. But I don't pig out on it,
Yeah.
I really don't. We have like shelves of chocolate in my house. I don't have it all the time or even every day.
But isn't it funny, though? That goes back to what you said really early on. Instead of going into that restriction, right, which psychologically we always do the opposite. Like, I can't have it. I'm going to eat all of it. It's like, no, we have an abundance of the dark chocolate. Exactly. And so my brain's like, if I want it, it's there. If I don't, it's all good.
That's exactly it. And that got started, when I trained for the marathon back in 2000, and I hired a nutritionist to help me really make sure my adrenals were strong and I didn't get injured and all that stuff. And ironically, she was pretty heavy, but I was after her mind, not her body. I didn't care about that. But, she would circle, I would keep food logs for her, and she would circle everything in red pen and shame me when I wrote down, like, I had a martini or I had chocolate. She said, what do you think you're doing? And I said, I'm developing a healthy relationship with food. And I was very fit. So I was like, you tell me, and I grew up in a house where, my mother had a lot of shame around candy. There were just candy wrappers everywhere, and it was always hidden. I said, just be like normal people and just put it out in a bowl in the, for everyone to just have, and so she was my great teacher. Even now she'll say, bring me some candy, but I don't want a big bag. So I individually portion out her bags for her of like licorice or whatever she wants or gummy bears. But, I found if I don't have an abundance of it, I get anxiety. But if it's there and I can have it anytime, no power over me at all.
Yep. Beautiful.
So,
I love it. I love it. Well, Esther, how can my listeners find you, get a hold of you, all of that? How can they find you?
Okay, Nicole. So I opened up my schedule. I have 7 spots available for your listeners who want a 30-minute metabolic blueprint call where they come away with 3 strategic tools that are customized to them to help support, whether it's your hormone balance, your cravings, you want to lose some weight, you want to sleep better. Come to the call with a targeted problem that you want to solve. And so to get that for yourself, you go to estherblum.com/call, CALL. And Esther is ESTHERBLUM.com/call, CALL. And you can book a 30-minute consultation. This is no cost to you. It is my gift to your listeners. And when you also just opt into my mailing list at estherblum.com, you get a free ebook. It's 3 simple tricks to lose 3 pounds this week. And it's wonderful. It's, again, what I wrote in there is a big foundation of how I treat my patients. So you're going to come away with something no matter what you do. If you sign up for my list or a call with me, you're going to come away with some amazing gifts for yourself.
Oh, beautiful. And ladies, I also have all of her social media links from LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. I'll have all of those in the show notes as well. And I will also put in the Beyond the Pill book that you talked about too in the show notes for people to be able to go look at that information. And I just want to say, Esther, thank you so much for being on today and truly for what you were doing. It really is. It's educating women on them being empowered and advocating for themselves in all their stages of life. And I just so appreciate what you're doing out there.
Oh, thank you, Nicole. It was an honor to be here. And I hope this helps some people out there today. I know it will.
To sign up for my workshop on the 5 shifts to end overwhelm and live a more balanced and connected life as a highly sensitive entrepreneur, go out to NicoleBurgessCoaching.com/end overwhelm.